Hi, Elizabeth Reed here, and I'm giving my case study 1 on Gideon versus Wainwright. To begin with, I'd like to give a little bit of background on this case. So it all started on June 3rd, 1961, when there was a burglary that occurred at about 8 a.m. at the Bay Harbor Pool Room in Panama City, Florida. There was damage done to the location as well as some money stolen. There was only one witness to the crime, and he said, or one witness at all, and he said that he had saw Clarence Earl Gideon leaving the pool room at about 5:30 that morning, and he had said that he saw him leave with a wine bottle and some change. This statement alone was enough for the police to charge Gideon with the crime, and he was arrested. Gideon was a poor man and he didn't have enough money for a lawyer. So when asked by the judge if he was ready for the court to proceed, he said that he wasn't. He said that he couldn't afford counsel and asked for the state to appoint someone for him. He was denied this request. The judge said that under the state of Florida that they only have to provide counsel when it's a capital defense. And in Gideon's case, it wasn't a capital defense. Gideon obviously wasn't happy with this decision. He replied that it was his understanding that the Supreme Court had said that he is entitled to be represented by counsel. Gideon tried to be his own counsel when the case went to court, but he failed to adequately do so, and therefore came out with a guilty verdict. He was sentenced to 5 years in a state prison. Gideon went on to prison and used some of the library books at the prison to research the amendment some more and try to understand why Florida thought this was the appropriate ruling. He still thought that he was in the right and went ahead and wrote to the Supreme Court to try to get his verdict appealed. In the letter that he sent to the Supreme Court, he said that Florida had broke the Sixth Amendment and that the Sixth Amendment itself is applied by the states in the 14th Amendment, and that he was seeking to appeal this decision and that the Supreme Court should basically back him up. The Supreme Court did agree with Gideon, and they assigned a lawyer to defend him in the appeal process. Gideon won the appeal and was given a second trial. At this trial, he had a lawyer that was brought up by the Supreme Court, and the lawyer was able to adequately do his job in defending his client. The lawyer actually proved that the one witness that gave police the information at the beginning that said that they had seen Gideon leave, his lawyer was able to prove that he wasn't a trustworthy source because he lied about what actually happened. Because of this, the lawyer was able to get Gideon released from prison. So basically, since Gideon had an adequate person to stand up for him, he was released, which he didn't have before. The next question is, does the ruling still stand? Yes, this ruling still stands. Anyone wishing to have a lawyer that cannot afford one will be appointed one by the state. This is said to when anyone is arrested in the Miranda rights, saying that if you can't afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you. These people that are appointed for you are called public defenders. Next question is, does the outcome reflect a liberal or a conservative view on criminal justice? So I had to really break this answer up into two separate answers. The first part is the actual outcome of the case. So the actual outcome of the case represents a liberal view on criminal justice. I think that this is so because the case advocates for individual rights and individual freedoms, and basically just supports individuals. The second part that I had to look at was how states have followed in the ruling of the case. In this instance, the actions of the states since the ruling reflect a conservative view on criminal justice. I say this because there are far too many cases where people need public defenders and not enough lawyers to handle them all. And they also states don't have enough in the public defense budgets. As long as the states provide a lawyer, there really aren't any rules on how the lawyers have to handle the case. For the most part, public defenders, no matter how good their original intentions are overloaded with cases and aren't given the proper time or money to handle the case and defend their client. Therefore, most of the time, especially in today's society, you see lawyers meet with their clients for just a few minutes before the court proceeding, and you see the client saying or pleading that they're guilty. They do this in hopes to reduce their sentence and get a quicker outcome. The video that we watched along with this assignment, it really supported this case that they're overburdened, basically. And you can see this at about the 16-minute mark and the 23-minute mark. Our next question here is, can you see Worrell's two themes from Chapter 1 in this case? Yeah, I can definitely see how this case ties into Chapter 1. If you look at Gideon's beginning understanding, which was that the Sixth Amendment entitled him to a lawyer, it really connects with how Chapter 1 introduced a constitutional basis for criminal procedure. The other big part of this chapter that tied in with the case was precedents and stare decisis. Precedent is a ruling of a case law that is binding by all lower courts and the court that had issued it. And stare decisis is to decide cases based upon previously decided cases. So this really means that because of Gideon's case alone, that from that point forward, anybody wanting a lawyer that could not afford one would be entitled to one. So this really shows that the states as well as the Supreme Court honestly initially had good intentions. It really doesn't show that they are proving that from now on that they are doing the best job possible, but it does show that they started out by having good intentions. Okay, the next question here is, do you agree or disagree with the ruling, and explain? I'm assuming that this question means, do you agree or disagree with the ruling in Gideon? So from reading the court case and doing some more reading on it, I do agree that Gideon wasn't guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, which is what you need to get a guilty verdict. I don't think that in this case that they had nearly enough evidence to prove that he was guilty. Also, he only had one witness of the crime, and that witness proved to be untrustworthy. So there really wasn't anything to charge Gideon with. So that pretty much sums it up for case study 1. Thank you.